All right, so welcome everyone to our inaugural SCMS Performance and Stardom SIG Roundtable. Today we're going to be looking at repositioning stars in the age of celebrity culture, a local global perspective. And we have five speakers today. And I'll just turn it over to you all to teach us about these stars.
Thank you, Amanda. Um, so I would like to begin by thanking SCMS and Performance and Stardom Scholarly Interest Group. And of course, thank you, Amanda, once again for helping us through the whole process. And this is actually a very important platform for us to share with you some of the ideas that are generating from India, from the Indian context, especially about celebrities and the culture of celebrities and the celebrity capital and so on. So today we have five of us, and I'm Swapna Gopinath, and along with me is Dr. Shreya Mitra. There is Dr. Ruchikar Jaggi. There is Dr. Damini Kulkarni and Dr. Spandan Bhattacharya. So we will begin with a short introduction. So basically, this session is structured in three segments, beginning with a brief introduction to the work we have been doing in the space of celebrity studies, followed by a discussion between us, and then the forum will be open for Q&A. So I was told by Amanda that this would be a good way to take this discussion forward. So, as I said, I will begin this session with a short introduction to the theme. So, there is a context to this discussion, and it is an upcoming work. It's a collection of essays co-edited by me, which will be published by Bloomsbury this year. Some of us here have also contributed chapters to it. This work is titled Mediated Cultures, Political Discourse, and the Celebrity Perspectives from India. The reasons we felt compelled to work on celebrity studies in the Indian context were many, actually. The fact that several stars turned celebrities had begun to exert their power in shaping political opinions, some of them turning into political leaders. And when questioned about their contribution to society, their fans exploded in anger. And we found these numbers increasing every year. Another dimension to this was the way older stars were redefining themselves, redesigning their identities and placing them in the current mediated spaces, branding themselves, some successfully and some not so well. Recently, India saw a film becoming a phenomenal success, crossing the 1,000 mark rupees profit, not profit, collection actually, or roughly $12 million in the first 3 weeks of its release. This film, Durandar, it is called, is all about patriotism, using the India-Pakistan hostility to create yet another narrative of jingoistic nationalism. But what was striking in the film is the use of old songs, remixed, new versions, triggering nostalgia and a sense of familiarity. And one of the songs was the song from the film called Arman, released in 1981, a Hindi film. This song is a peppy dance number titled Ramba Ho. And on screen, it was an actor, Kalpana Iyer, who danced and lip synced to the song. Recently, after the film became a hit, Durandar became a hit, Kalpana Iyer is back, dancing to the song again. And the reel went viral very soon. And soon she was giving interviews suggesting her desire to return to acting. She becomes the latest addition to the innumerable stars from the 70s and 80s and 90s, repositioning themselves in the new mediascape, demanding attention and visibility. So, what is it that inspires these yesteryear actors to return and reclaim their space? Is it the monetary gains as they grow as brands endorsing and marketing products, or as influential artists with greater visibility? Or is it because of the possibility of growing into transnational icons? How are these actor celebrities positioning themselves in the new political environment? These are some of the questions that keep coming back to us as we discuss or as we look into these trajectories of these celebrities. As we discuss the growth of celebrities, we also see the evolution of stars from being products of late modernity as products of commodification, as products of the industry's aesthetic parameters, to being important components within the larger national narrative. Unlike the star, the celebrity occupies a more complex position within the mediated spaces as part of platform capitalism, with the fan, the cinephile, playing a significant role in the process of creating and celebrating the celebrity, both online and offline. The celebrity is expected to perform authenticity, reliability, and relatability, which builds on the influence they exert on the social discourses. Their celebrity capital is to be understood within these frameworks. Now, do they help create an ideological vacuum? I wish to raise questions on their acts of philanthropy, their activism adding value to acts of advocacy where individuals or fans feel validated when they click on the content of their celebrity idols. I remember the open letter that was written by Amitabh Bachchan to his granddaughter when his film Pink was released. The film was on the idea of consent and sexual violence, with Bachchan performing the role of a lawyer, an aged lawyer, who becomes the advocate and the voice for a young woman who was fighting for justice. The letter kind of blurred the difference between the person and his persona in this film. In this discussion, we try to address some of these questions from case studies of actors who successfully reinvented themselves to the platforms that enable these transitions to the process of signification in the age of AI generated images. So I think I will give space now to Dr. Shreya Mitra to take this conversation forward because she's going to talk about one of those celebrated stars who kind of very successfully became a celebrity in recent times. Over to you, Shreya.
Thank you so much, Swapna. That was an excellent introduction, and I loved what you said about the stars using social media to reposition themselves because that is precisely what I'll be talking about. So, this is a very, very, very brief sort of synopsis of an book chapter that's going to be published in July in an anthology edited by Jonathan Gray, Adrian Temple, and Aswin Punathambekar, titled Planet Digital. And my chapter, and this is it's a specific case study of a 1970s icon, Zinat Aman, and how in recent years, in literally the last 2 years, 2 or 3 years, Instagram has helped in facilitated the rebranding and repositioning of her star image. Now, I also situate this work in my own role as a Aka fan because I've always been like a big fan of Zinat Aman. So for me, this was like deep dive into my own fandom. So I'm going to start with this image of Zinat Aman. This was the first image that she posted on Instagram. This was in early 2023. Zinat Aman was a very, very popular screen icon back in the 1970s. She had the image of a westernized sex symbol over the years, and this was very typical of the industry back in the day, and even to some extent now, that female actresses, had a very brief shelf life, unlike the male actors. So it was very, very, kind of the norm that once you hit the wrong side of 30, well, you retired to domesticity, you married some businessman abroad, or you probably married a, already married actor and you retire. And that was precisely her career trajectory. And she had been kind of off the radar for decades. Now, here, when she makes her, and because of the, keeping in mind the time, I have not included, like, done a really, really deep dive on her. Right when she posts, like, laughing at the places life takes you, why, hello there, Instagram, uh, the internet, the social media space just it went ballistic because of all the people saying, oh my God, the OG style icon is there. And I have not included, but if you look at the social media fans, I would say, social media users, it was very much a reinforcement of her stardom. And mind you, during the heydays of her star, although she was popular, that was the period where it was the male star like Amitabh Bachchan, and she was actually his contemporary, had acted in couple of, quite a few films with him. The female star did not really have much of a space in Hindi commercial cinema. But once she makes her debut on Instagram, everyone just loves her. And this is very briefly, there are lots of, also very interestingly, the media coverage of her Instagram debut. And this is just one of the many media stories that was basically like, oh my God, this is what we needed. So there was a lot of celebration of Zinat Aman, but it wasn't more so because, hey, she's making this comeback on social media. Zinat Aman and Instagram, it reflects basically the shift in Bollywood stardom from the matinee idols, the movie star, to what I describe as the transmedia celebrity and the emergence of the star as brand. And in recent years, social media has played a very, very crucial role in repositioning the star as a brand. And this is where it also fits in with influencer culture and how followers translates into brand loyalty, etc. Now, why Zinat Aman and Instagram is crucial, and this is where I go back to Swapna's point about repositioning, is how it literally repositioned and reframed her star image from what it was there in the 70s to now for something that's more palatable and popular for the Gen Z millennial woke fans. So this is an image from a very, very popular film of hers from 1977 film. It was kind of known for the revealing clothes she'd worn there. And when she reposts this image, and if you look at the text, the whole thing is couched in a narrative of body positivity, which is what resonates with her millennial Gen Z fans. Because it's interesting that her social media followers are not what we call her OG fans, but more importantly, much younger folks whose parents were her fans. They are the ones who are like, oh, this is the kind of, public figure and celebrity we need. So the whole point of her wearing this very revealing, cleavage, showing dress is part of her being a professional. And in her post, she also tries to kind of demystify and say, hey, when you're on the set, you don't know how it is. I was a thorough professional. So it's very much what we call the BTS kind of, reel. And so a lot of when she talks about her, the kind of image she had, it's couched in narratives of body positivity, which resonates with her Gen Z millennial audience. And here are some of the other things I've just like very briefly highlighted. She talks about how she appreciates that the Hindi film industry has more female writers, directors, basically women's behind the lens, because that's what gives a woman's gaze and how that's distinct from a male gaze. She also talks about how there is the wage gap, the disparity, that in the 70s, well, actresses got paid less, but now, almost like 40 years, 50 years later, it's not that there's been much of an improvement. So when she talks about the wage gap, when she talks about, ageism, and that's another thing she also keeps referring to, all those are very much a woke vocabulary that resonates with her audience. And this is why the platform of Instagram is so crucial. And also, and this is where it relates to, what does it mean for the star fan dynamics in the age of social media? We do see her asking her fans to share their stories. So there is that sense of digital intimacy, which many social media scholars have talked about, how celebrity engagement with social media also blurs and bridges the gap between the celebrity and the fan. But interestingly, if you think it's all about the democratization of those, erstwhile, hegemonic relations, not really. She also schools her fans on social media on how they need to keep distance. And in some way, this is a replication of the star on the pedestal, and the fan is supposed to, consume them, look up to them, but not cross a certain line. Often she posts about her experience that she's out and about and people want to take a selfie with them, which is the very popular mode of engagement with celebrities in among the Bollywood celebrity culture. And she actually tells them no, because she's like, this is my private time. So there's a lot of schooling of what are the boundaries when it comes to fans and celebrities. And to kind of wrap up, I want to move to the point of the star as brand. And it wasn't just this one collab, but she is. I'm going to try and see if I can. I don't think I'm able to play this for some reason. I wanted to just play it on mute, but so that you could just see. Let me see if I still can do it. Apparently not. But to give you an idea, it's an ad where she is what you call the whole concept of the badass 70-year-old. She's all dressed in black. She's got her black glasses, and she's talking about women should claim their space. And the whole idea that we don't need to be nice. The Indian woman doesn't have to be nice, doesn't have to be accommodating, but we should go and grab the space. Interestingly, this was for the Leap Dot Club, which is a workspace and networking initiative for women. When she's done the other endorsements, it has been very kind of Gen Z related credit cards. It's not like, okay, here am I'm 70-year-old, and I'm going to kind of just like reclaim my earlier image. And many other instances, you see her paired with younger actresses. And the tagline will be the past is still relevant and should be celebrated. And just to end on note, I also want to mention how, thanks to her now cool Instagram image, that has also transitioned into these rather cool, atypical older woman roles on Netflix original series, where she plays this, 70-year-old who is smoking weed and encourages her daughter-in-law to, to basically live her life and have affairs. So I don't think that wouldn't have been possible without this Instagram, the whole platforming, repositioning her.
Thanks, Shreya. Sorry. I think we can, that was very interesting actually, like to begin with, of how these kind of, stars are getting into becoming celebrities and, kind of occupying this newly discovered space. Now let's move on to the next speaker, who's Dr. Spandan, who's also going to talk about another star turned celebrity, very famous in his times and also has some political affiliations, which makes this story very interesting, actually. Spandan?
Thank you, Sapna, for your kind introduction, and thank you all who are present here. So I would like to take a different route of talking about the repositioning of the celebrity image, which Sapna introduced and Sriya was also talking about, which is the root of the meme or the meme making culture. And as Sapna said, there is a popular star in Bombay film industry, but also he appeared in Bengali and other regional cinema. His name is Mithun Chakrabarti, who was quite well known for certain kind of a dance steps in the 80s, and particularly disco became a kind of a popular dance trope for the Hindi, Bengali and other regional films. And then that image of Mithun Chakrabarti, which was not so much there in prominence in the media discourses, that came back with the meme culture. That's what like I have been observing, because I was writing something about the Mithun and his celebrity image with the new media avenues and different kind of platforms. So what happened when I was looking at the different kind of meme generated around Mithun, one thing that struck me, that there's a certain kind of course, a fan community which is working, reworking, realigning a different kind of an image culture through meme. But then there is a role of laughter and the humor, something to be laughed at, that is also deciding or creating that meme image, right? And then everything is not the way the celebrity would position himself, or the culture industry he is part of would position himself. Rather, there is a kind of a criticism of that particular figure and his different kind of roles, and particularly his shifting political ideology, which became a concern of the memers. And Mithun Chakraborty is also an actor from Indian film industry who is quite well known for different kind of political alignment and realignment he had starting from the 80s, throughout 90s. He was close with the left front government in Bengal. Then he was also close to Congress at one point. Then the Mamata Banerjee ruled government in Trinamool Congress in Bengal, and recently he shifted to Bharatiya Janata Party, and he is appearing in those campaigning. So the memers are making fun of those kind of images. So first part, of course, when I started observing meme as a cultural text, as a media text, which is relocating the celebrity, makes me aware that there's a certain kind of a participatory culture which is happening, and which is the meme studies who talk about, right? Because even meme studies from the West, if you talk about Schiffman or Milner, other kind of scholarship which you talk about, by nature meme is participatory, so which gives that kind of an edge which just a fan labor or a fan culture will not produce. But then I will just talk about little bit of other things. When I started interviewing the memers and the people who runs those meme pages on Instagram, also on Facebook, then I started getting a different kind of an idea of that participation or the participatory culture, what we are calling very easily. It's not that easy. There is a multidimensional kind of an activity, and also it's uneven. So who is participating and who is producing certain kind of an image which is being looked at as a meme? And then I got to also interview some of the industry people and the marketing people, and then I realized many times the marketing people would go to the memer asking to make a meme of that particular celebrity. So it's not spontaneous the way imagine the meme is becoming popular. So that was the thing. And then there are two particular instances which made me rethink the way meme works as a repositioning of the celebrity culture. One is this 2017 incident of this popular Telugu star Allu Arjun's film called Dubara Jagannatham, where apparently he was present in a promotional event of that film, and he said something which was considered as improper. And then there are two kinds of position taken up by the Telugu film memers. The new ones, the new memers started making film of that celebrity because that controversy would give them more visibility, whereas that established meme pages would restrain because they would know this kind of meme creation might irritate the fan communities. And Allu Arjun is also one of the Telugu star who is known for his a large fan base. Sometimes you would also call the fan army. I have not a kind of a group of fan. So there is a selection happening. There is a censoring happening, which is controlling certain kind of meme to appear on those broad meme pages and certain kind of meme to not appear on those pages. Of course, there are marketing media involvement as well. And then very recently, Shah Rukh Khan's one particular image with a little bit of bald hair also got viral. And there was a rumor that if you post this meme or use this meme template, then you will be fined 3 lakhs rupees, and also you might get jail of 2 years. So memers also talk about that concern as well. So then I become concerned, like what is happening then? Who is deciding which meme to appear? And what we're thinking as a repositioning of the celebrity, how much of repositioning is allowed? And when you talk about the laughter, there must be a certain kind of a limitation to that laughter as well. Certain kind of laughter are allowed, and beyond that limit, that laughter is not allowed. So this is something, an interesting kind of a media avenue or a text to think about. That's what I am like still processing my ideas how to look at meme when you talk about a major celebrity from 70s or 80s, and a kind of a repositioning which is happening for the Gen Z or millennial kind of crowd. But what are the concerns which is determining? And just to have a quick conclusion, as a kind of wrapping up my observation, so the industry people are also very much aware. So I had a bit of kind of an opportunity to interview few actors, and also writers. What do they think about the meme and the meme making? Apparently they also became concerned of certain things being memeable. So in their media appearances, they will not do the things memeable, because at the one hand the visibility is something they look for, but the over visibility in meme also might affect the career of that actor. That's what they are concerned with. So that's what my initial thought on this. So maybe we can look at meme as something which is working, reworking, realigning the celebrity image, but also it is conditioned by certain things. That is the thing we have to keep in mind. So yeah, that makes some sense. I would conclude here.
Thank you, Spandan. I was also thinking about how Mithun as this persona who came from cinema to reality television. So I was just thinking this transition to reality television, did it really help, especially since you mentioned meme culture? I've seen a lot of those memes where he is doing that, as some of those visuals. So I was just wondering if that did play a role as well in creating. Maybe we can have the conversation later. Moving on to the next speaker, it is Dr. Ruchi. She works on platforms and celebrity visibility and mediated content, and she's going to look at this whole concept in a very different way. Dr. Ruchi, are you there?
Thank you, Swapna, and hi everyone, and thank you for the opportunity. Very interesting discussion so far, where we have specifically looked at two celebrities turned celebrities uh, through very, very interesting mediations of the affordances that platforms have created. My conversation is focused on algorithms, platforms, and audiences in all of this, and that is the direction I would like to take in this conversation. So, if I can say this, over the last 5 to 6 years, we specifically have witnessed a significant reconfiguration of this Bollywood, the Hindi film stardom. This is closely tied to the rise of streaming platforms. Of course, my other colleagues on the panel also spoke about the intensification of the social media visibility, which has been a significant factor, and the broader process of platformization within India's media ecosystem. Now, this shift became particularly visible around COVID-19 2020, when theatrical exhibition faced an unprecedented crisis and several high profile film releases moved to streaming platforms and directly to streaming platforms. Simultaneously, the Indian market saw mushrooming and consolidation of streaming services, which began to position themselves not just as alternative spaces, but as central nodes of mainstream media consumption. Now, this industrial shift also coincided with a noticeable stagnation in box office performance for Hindi cinema, particularly for star driven commercial films. While the year 2025 has seen some sort of a revival, Swapna was earlier talking about this film called Durandar, which has made some whopping amounts of money at the box office, with Hindi films hadn't seen now for the last 5 years, which is actually primarily being measured through ticket sales only. So 2025 box office successes, a few successful releases. The larger trend over the last 5 years points towards uncertainty in theatrical stardom and a weakening of the traditional shelf life of many Bollywood actors. In response, several actors, particularly those whose commercial trajectories had slowed or become uneven, have actively reconfigured their celebrity status through streaming content and social media platforms. So, what emerges here is not merely a migration across media, but a fundamental transformation of celebrityhood itself, in my opinion. Actors are no longer visible only through films. They are now omnipresent across Instagram, something that Dr. Mitra was talking about. Promotional documentaries, talk shows, branded collaborations, platform exclusive productions. Many of those so called documentaries function less as critical biographical narratives and more as public relations exercises, masquerading as authenticity, if I may say so. In fact, celebrity visibility is no longer episodic or event based, but continuous. And that's a huge change, curated and algorithmically sustained. Social media plays a very crucial role in this transformation. Platforms promise individuality, direct engagement, yet in practice, they operate through algorithmic logics. and that absolutely rewards sameness, predictability, and very formulaic performance. As a result, celebrity self-presentation, self-representation actually becomes increasingly standardized. And there is a recognizable checklist of behaviors, narratives that celebrities must perform to remain visible and brand friendly. This is further amplified by algorithmic mainstreaming, where visibility itself becomes linearized and broadcast like rather than participatory or dialogic. And that's the primary argument I'm making. At the same time, streaming platforms, which initially positioned themselves as alternatives to these formulaic television and mainstream cinematic spaces, have undergone a process of televisionization. I think that there is a growing linearization of content, narrative structures, genres, even celebrity presence. So the promise of experimentation and disruption of the platforms has given way to repetition, safe formats, recognizable faces. And in this sense, platforms begin to resemble legacy screens, where whether theatrical or televisual, rather than offering genuinely new cultural spaces. Hence, my central argument is that this convergence of televisionization, linearization, and algorithmically driven celebrity production has produced a form of celebrity fatigue among audiences. While audiences would continue to consume celebrity content, there is also a growing exhaustion with the sheer volume, sameness, and manufactured intimacy that defines contemporary Bollywood celebrity culture. This is particularly evident among longtime admirers of Hindi cinema, people like me, who articulate a sense of disillusionment with both the films and the stars who now appear endlessly visible, yet increasingly indistinguishable. And finally, I want to clarify this argument by saying that this is not based on any empirical data. Instead, it draws from some dipstick ethnographic reading of audience commentary, digital discourse, informal conversations. And what has emerged from these observations is a palpable wariness with this formulaic reconstruction of celebrity identities across platforms. And just as commercial Bollywood cinema has long been critiqued for narrative repetition, we now see a similar sort of parallel in the way celebrities narrate themselves across social media and streaming platforms. So for me, initially, this would be like the argument I wanted to present, and of course, we can take the discussion forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruchi. It's quite interesting that you brought in this dimension of the television and the visibility and the fatigue that is causing the viewer. I think that is a very different way of looking at this idea of celebrities. And there is now Dr. Damini, who is going to look at the images per se, and how celebrities are constructed, or how authenticity is created through, or the idea of authenticity works in this context. Yes, Damini?
Right. Thank you so much, Sapna, and thank you so much for the larger opportunity to talk about some of my work. I think I'm going to also attempt to use these 5 minutes to tie together a bunch of the things that everybody has said, right? Because a common thread appears to be that our arguments are predicated upon the digital. Right? And I mean, we are all sort of digital facing in making this argument about what is happening to celebrity, right? And I mean, when I began to think about this, my wager was that there ought to be, or there must be something about the on toss of the digital, right? Its absolute way of being that allows us to start churning out or thinking about celebrity images, right? And I think while Dr. Shreya spoke about, Zinat Aman sort of, recycling her images. And a lot of these images are, obviously they're not high resolution, uh, they're not very clean images which have immense social and cultural capital already on them. Or like Spandan was saying, he's talking about memes, which is a repurposing of a certain kind of already existing image. And so when I began to think about particularly these images, it is obvious that there is something about digitality that allows these images first to exist, right? So to become, and then to become afresh each time they are encountered by audience members, like Dr. Ruchi is saying, right? So there is something happening in terms of their uh, coming into being and then becoming afresh, right? Each time they're touching different audiences. And sometimes, like they say, old thoughts and your curriculum thoughts can really be best thoughts. It's irresistible it's difficult to resist going back to Heatosteller's and Heatosteller's idea of poor images, right? So this notion of, and I'm quoting here, the poor image is a copy in motion. Its quality is bad, its resolution substandard. It accelerates, and as it accelerates, it deteriorates. It's the ghost of an image, a preview, a thumbnail, an errant idea, an itinerant image distributed for free, squeezed through slow digital connections, compressed, reproduced, ripped, remixed, as well as copied and pasted into other channels of distribution. The image is liberated from the vaults of cinemas and archives and thrust into digital uncertainty at the expense of its own substance, right? So, of course, there are a lot of things, there are a lot of sometimes even contradictory ways in which the poor image has been described. But what's interesting to me about the poor image is that its own ontology is again uh, predicated upon the digital, right? That this low resolution, reworked, uh, recarouseled, recontextualized, ripped image can only be a digital image, right? And so it's interesting that a lot of these celebrity sort of reinventions that we're talking about are requiring or are happening through requiring might be too strong, but are certainly circulating through celebrity. And so it's very, very tempting then to make the argument that uh, there is something about celebrity culture versus stardom that is particularly uh, sort of aligned with digitality's database logics, right? So this hyper-mediated database logic that digitality sort of allows. And so it's very, very tempting to say that, so while the star needed, a larger narrative arc, repetition, mystery, right? On the other hand, the uh, database logic, which is, ripped from context, it allows for multiple different stories to be churned out, right? And so it thrives on a sort of distraction. And this distracted viewing is perhaps at the crux of what makes celebrityhood so enchanting, right? In that I'm not required to follow very, very long story arc. I don't need to know who Zeenat Aman was, for example. I don't need to know what film she came in. I don't need to know that larger arc she built as a star. One post, and it is, it's literally like a cabinet of curiosities, right? It's literally that Wondergram or her Instagram page where you click on any one, and that one post, the poor image of that one post is enough to sort of index some sort of aspect of her celebrityhood. And to then address what Dr. Ruchi was saying, right, with regard to fatigue. So then the way to overcome that fatigue for the audience is, okay, here's data. Now you bring your bodies to make a narrative that works for you, right? So there is a way in which that database logic and the circulation of those poor images allows for audiences to start filling in uh, and sort of reconfiguring these poor images into in different modular ways to arrive at narratives themselves, right? And this seems to be truer and truer the more I speak to audiences, which is that the making of the images, the partaking of images, which really are not designed for longevity. They are not designed for the building of a layered, nuanced narrative. They're designed for a sort of distracted looking. Uh, how much they become a part of their own identity and their own body. And so then the celebrity starts to sort of circulate that distracted, fractured celebrityhood begins to acquire narrative through the body of the audience. And I would argue that the distraction happens when the narrativization stops, right? So when there is a jamming in that I'm not able to now narrativize this hyper mediated database logic driven uh, constellation of poor images, is when then I'm disengaged or I'm fatigued, like Dr. Jaggi was saying, right? That it's obviously going to lead to a fatigue because that my capacity to narrativize it is jamming, right? So what's interesting to me about all of our arguments, and I'll attempt to sort of wrap this, is that like uh, Sterile is saying about uh, poor images, they are able to create some sort of visual bonds, right? Despite that database driven sort of separate, where she says, uh, where she talks about Vertov's idea of a visual bond, right? Visual bond was, according to Vertov, supposed to link the workers of the world with each other through images, right? And she's saying that through the poor image, in a sense, his dream has come true, if mostly under the rule of a global information capitalism, whose audiences are linked mostly in a physical sense by mutual excitement, affective attunement, and anxiety, which I think touches upon what all three of the speakers who spoke before me were talking about, right? Uh, that anxiety about which celebrity do I mean, an excitement about, oh my God, what image has Zina Daman now shared, uh, and a sort of coming together into a contingent community around certain images that allows celebrityhood to sort of pop up. A very long time ago, Thomas L. Sasson spoke about how cinema is becoming scattered. I don't, and he says we encounter cinema scattered across a large semantic landscape like landmines, right? Uh, and it is this particular mode of dispersion that is particularly aligned with the logic of celebrity in my head. And of course, these are just thoughts that I'm working on now after speaking to a lot of audiences. But it seems to me that what Spandan is attempting to get at, what Shreya is attempting to get at, and what Dr. Jaggi was also attempting to get at, all of these are sort of hinting at the fact that there is a sort of database logic that is allowing certain images to become and thrive, that is particularly feeding into the sporadicness, the distractedness, the immediate excitement, the affective contagion almost of celebrity. So yeah, that's it.
Yeah, thank you, Damini. Very interesting. I think we can have like quick 2 questions. Amanda, what do you think? Do we have time for a couple of questions?
Yeah, I think we have about 15 minutes. So probably more than two, maybe.
Yeah, okay, sure, sure.
Uh,
So yeah, something that I would like to ask all of you is, or to have a discussion here is about transnational spaces and the growth of celebrities. Do you think it has played a huge role in giving this kind of a space to former stars? Do you think that the kind of nostalgia, the kind of affective spaces that it creates, do you think that has helped them grow into a transnational sort of celebrity? It's
So,
open to anyone.
sorry, go ahead, Shreya.
No, Dr. Ruchi, you can go ahead and then I'll
No, no,
jump
no.
in.
I actually wouldn't have much to say about celebrities here, but I was just thinking that just approaching it from the point of view of platformization and transnational content and therefore transnational celebrities. Because primarily, what are platforms? If you just look at it from a very technological lens, platforms are distribution technologies. They have become very, very contemporary, modern distribution technologies where you do not require any kind of intervention in between. in terms of distributors or anybody to reach out. So simultaneously, if a talk show from India, which is extremely popular, let's say on Netflix, something of a slapstick talk show like the Kapil Sharma show, which happens on Netflix once every Saturday, it went from your legacy TV to Netflix for the simple reason that there was a huge, especially South Asian diaspora, particularly Indian diaspora, which was watching a lot of the reruns of this program, number one. So Netflix seemed like a great way to get broadcast in 190 countries altogether. So in 190 countries, how does a platform becomes the right intervention in which a celebrity finds an audience? Because this talk show is structured in such a way that it just talks with celebrities or wannabe celebrities or somebody who's figuring out a second innings by being a celebrity. I'm not in any way being condescending about it, but I'm just trying to say that this is how the platforms work uh, towards the idea of why every celebrity today is transnational. And of course the same conversation goes to Instagram or X or any other platform that we are talking about. Also, very interestingly, we see a lot of user edited content in the form of short video content across social media, which I think again amplifies and exaggerates a celebrity's imagery in the audience's imagination. And much of this content may not even be done by the celebrity or their teams themselves. So it's also user generated in such a way, and therefore the way transnationalism uh, becomes, a lot of, for example, Korean celebrities, the way they have captured the imagination of South Indian audiences, or Asian audiences, my bad, is very important to also understand here, that how the celebrity gets constructed. Um, who is a celebrity? They were pop singers, idols who became drama actors, film actors, but how did they amplify their presence in the minds of an Indian audience? Was because there was a Netflix, and today I don't have to kind of really find sources to consume this content. So I also think that all of this, I'm like such a big uh, my mind just works so much towards thinking about platforms all the time that I cannot dissociate myself as to how they have a role in everything. And that's the point I just wanted to make. And sorry if I jumped the gun. Yeah.
Oh, no, thank you, Dr. Ruchi. Those were excellent points. And I just want to very briefly jump in, just point out two things. Transnational fandom had existed before. You had the Russian, or rather the Soviet Union fans of not only Kapoor, but Mithun. Spandan, he was big in USSR in the 80s. His, the disco dancer film was like, had a cult following. Amitabh Bachchan was insanely popular in Egypt in the 80s. Interestingly, at a time where Hindi films were banned from theatrical exhibition, so you'd get the bootlegged VHS to sort of participate and engage in transnational fandom. And here I'm talking about fans who are not Indians or diasporic South Asians, but rather Russians, Egyptians. I think what social media has done to some extent has sort of formalized those kind of, you can say, informal, almost you can say illegit networks of transnational fandom that's way more formalized. I mean, look at Shah Rukh Khan. Shah Rukh Khan has his fan club, not just in India, but literally, like when you're literally, like, each and every part of the world. So when Pathan gets released, you have the UAE Shah Rukh Khan fan club, which organized a sort of a group, mass viewing, and then post the videos. And that's when you have the virality, what Dr. Ruchi was saying about platforms. And Dr. Ruchi mentioned another point about user generated content playing a very crucial role in star image construction. And we sort of go back to what Richard Dyer said about, like the star images being constructed and how much of it is by others. And I'm thinking about Ranbir Kapoor 2 years back, his whole image of the toxic man. So much of it was what viewers were putting there. They would like make reels and they would splice them of how he is behaving with his wife versus how Shah Rukh Khan is behaving. And then it got magnified to the extent that he literally had to acknowledge in a podcast that, I know there's all this talk and I don't mind it because then it puts the focus on toxic masculinity. And this is someone who doesn't actually have a social media profile. So I think platforms play a very, very crucial role in not only in the circulation of transnational visibility, but also how this image construction happens. And it's no longer just relegated to, people within the national borders.
I think if I may just very quickly respond, I
Yes.
think I mean we are talking about transnational celebrity as a celebrity sort of uh, traveling or a celebrity narrative sort of traveling across boundaries. But what's interesting is how celebrity, the narrative itself incorporates things from different parts of the world. And I'm thinking very quickly about, say, someone like Zohran Mamdani, right? Who was able to achieve a kind of celebrityhood. And part of the reason was that if you look at his Instagram page, again, if you look at it as this hyper-mediated sort of every window is a different sort of uh, ethnic group or a different sort of nationality that he is attempting to sort of build upon. And if you look at some of his reels, right, they are actively building upon other star discourses and literacy about other star discourses. So when we're talking about transnational celebrities, I mean, it's not just that there is one celebrity identity that's crossing national boundaries, which is so right, but it's also that the celebrityhood itself is able to modularly sort of incorporate uh, cultural signages of various different nations and then selectively call upon them in order to proliferate sort of rhizomatically in those spaces. Uh, so I think I mean, it's also an important dimension of this transnational character, I think.
I was also thinking, sorry, do you like to? Okay. So I was also thinking, especially the Middle East. For me, I'm aware of the way in which, especially from regional cinema like Malayalam and Tamil, the way the stars, not the celebrities right now, but the stars used to go and perform. Like huge shows in the Middle East and make a lot of money and bring a lot of producers back. So that sort of a connection was always there. But as of now, the way platforms have changed everything, the way social media, the way the kind of conversations have changed, and the way there's a lot of monetizing content has happened. I would like to bring that focus, onto that of how these celebrities are also like branding themselves, creating products, endorsing products, and I think Shreya wanted to show something there earlier, right? So that is another very profitable, very very important aspect of this new identity of the celebrity is something that I just wanted to plug in. Yes, Panthan?
Just to say regarding this transnational frame and whether and how much I observed regarding the meme creation. Of course, as Shreya was talking about, Mithun already had a kind of a frame of reference and then going beyond the Indian thing. But my experience from whatever meme pages I saw, there are kind of reference of the meme template. So when you look at the Mithun kind of a meme or sometimes Rajnikant kind of meme, they were hugely heavily influenced by this Chuck Norris meme. He was a martial artist. So that impossibility of like showing strength and power, and they were very much appropriated within Mithun. When I think we all have seen this Mithun hiding behind a bicycle, and that is a kind of maybe some Kantilal Shah or some film it's coming from. So this is also where the template, the meme template travels, but also along with transnational, I'd like to mention the trans-regional circulation is also something to think about, particularly with Rajamouli and the kind of film he is making. those are apparently giving the memer the memeable content. But of course, I would also like to think about what Shreya Damini was saying, the database logic. So what is it that is making certain things memeable? That is something to think about. But then the memer, the Bollywood memers, is a page admin whom I interviewed, and he was saying that certain way that Rajamouli's films are designed, it's very easy for us to take the meme, and then those memes are also circulated along with the Bollywood stars. So some kind of course, the boundary and the way we think about a regional or national cinema boundaries works, that are reworked with memes. Fahad Fazil also is one another star from Malayalam cinema. Like at one point where he played that Dawn in Bangalore. Sorry, the name is not coming to my mind. That created a lot of memes in those Bollywood page as well. So yeah, it's a thing to think about.
Yeah, the film is Avesham, the name of the film.
Yes, yes, it
Yeah.
was viral.
One last
I
question.
just very quickly, Swapna, your point about monetization. I just want to point out that this was last year. One of the South Asian real estate like millionaires here, Dana Properties, they actually have, this is in downtown Dubai, they have a building titled Shahruk's. And it was all sold out within 24 hours. And there it's for commercial space. And there is a statue of Shah Rukh Khan with his trademark, which I'm sure Damini can attest, which same things Zoran Mamdani had deployed. So, and so much of this traction was on social media. So I think platformization obviously plays a very, very crucial role.
Before we open the floor for Q&A, I just one last question. Since we're talking about images, I was thinking about deep fakes and AI generated content. How do you think it's shaping this space of celebrity studies? Do you think it has an impact, or anybody can?
Swapna, I think, I mean, of course, to have a very coherent argument at the moment is very difficult. It could just be a reaction to what you just asked. But I think somewhere when we are all discussing a lot of user generated content, that's where something like the AI interventions have a significant role to play. You must have been seeing lately in the short video content on YouTube Shorts or Instagram Reels, where how someone looked when they were young, a celebrity looked when they were young, and now how do they look, and how would they look like when they grow old. So we have done it in ways with all celebrities always, the artist's imagination of the celebrity. But today with AI interventions, everybody's kind of trying to take a shot at that. And I think that is also the way in which the audiences amplify the transmedia narrative of a celebrity's of who a celebrity is or what their image is like. So I think in different ways AI is intervening. I don't know what they do to it themselves. I have no clue. I have no idea how celebrities themselves do this to them. But I don't think anybody any longer posts anything without a filter. So I think not posting without a filter in itself is a filter. So I with no better way to say this, right? At least, yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's nothing is authentic, as you would say right now, especially. But there have been some, like in between some conversations around some
Sure.
posted like, and it's not original, and but again, I think it's as you said, it's still in a very fluid state, and
Yeah.
it's
And
it,
right now, what we have is precisely a lot of opinion and reactions to all of this, because I think we kind of really need a lot of curated, sources to be able to understand, and purely from the point of views, like, because on the one hand, some of us are making arguments on fatigue and exhaustion, and yet I don't know why we are constantly engaged with them. So that's also the sort of a conflict that one kind of confronts in this context. Yeah.
I was also thinking, the idea of consent and, especially when it comes to celebrity images, which is already in the
Yeah,
public.
yeah, yeah. And that's why, we see a lot of these celebrities copywriting their voices, their names, and how you can use their images. So I think, yeah, what you say is so correct because there are more and more overlaps as to how a celebrity wants to reimagine themselves and who will have the voice to reimagine the celebrity, whose agency is it?
Especially with transmedia storytelling and
True,
the
true, true.
picture of
But
these.
I think we have crossed a time, Swapna. It's more than an hour. Yeah.
There is a whole world that we have not discussed, especially regional cinema, which is like a very fertile field, but we don't have the time to talk about it. So I think, Amanda, we are open to questions now.
Yeah, thank you so much for those fascinating glimpses. There's a lot of provocative concepts that came up, I think. Does anyone in the audience have a question for the panelists today?
I have a question, if I may.
Yeah.
Um, the question is for Dr. Sneha Mitra about her talk, and I was wondering if you could maybe tell us a little bit more. I'm not familiar with the star, but if you can tell us a little bit more about the potential sort of lines of continuity between her earlier star image and then her new one, and how those interactions work. Because you mentioned very very interestingly how she couches images through comments and so on. But I was wondering if there are kind of lines through which sort of lines of continuity or lines of using that earlier star image.
Thank you. That's an excellent question. I really appreciate you asking it because it's very layered and it's very nuanced. So much of what she's now is actually based on her very kind of westernized sex symbol image from the 70s. She was not one who had a traditional, the ideal Indian woman. She was always the westernized woman. She wore her first film, that she made her debut. She wasn't the heroine, she was the hero's sister. And she wore bell bots and she was kind of like a Janis Joplin kind of figure. And a lot of it now is kind of goes back to it. But I think so there is that thread of continuity. But I think what happens with Instagram is that she has, I won't call it agency, but she has the opportunity to tweak it in her off-screen narrative, despite her that very kind of empowered woman on screen, she was known to be toxic relationships with abusive men. Who would physically, beat her up and stuff like that. And here, when now on Instagram, she talks about women should be financially independent and marriage shouldn't be the ideal goal. There is that whole narrative of here was a woman who off screen was continuously, being abused. That is very, in a very strategic manner, that narrative kind of, gets brushed away. That here is someone whose sense of empowerment apparently was even there. Even though one might question, was she really that empowered back then? So there is kind of a tying together of many strands. And also something that she does with Instagram, she refers to her personal life. Like, she was estranged from her husband who then passed away. So she was pretty much a single mother. So she posts a lot of picture and then she'll ask women like, much, much younger than her to talk about their experiences as a mother, but also how they kind of, took out space for themselves as women. So there's a lot of Gen Z millennial narratives also going. I don't know if I was able to answer your question. Thank you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you so much.
Any other questions from the audience? Let's see. It looks like there's a question in the chat. Can you talk about stars that prioritize participation in regional, collectivist, or locally owned platforms that are not necessarily locked into unequal and extractive production distribution arrangements with global mass media. And maybe this is a question for anyone on the panel who has thoughts on that.
I'm actually thinking about it, and um, I'm not able to think about anyone as of now, but I would like to mention. So I come from the southern state of Kerala, and we speak Malayalam, which is our language, and it's a very small industry. Um, Now this industry, because it's a small space, but a lot of people have gone abroad, and especially Middle East and everything, and so Malayalam cinema gets viewed in other parts of the world as well. But what's interesting is that there was a movement in Malayalam industry where women actors began to speak against the patriarchal, the misogynist, sexist kind of narratives that were coming. That is actually like a part of the industry. When the Me Too happened, also while the rest of India sort of kept quiet, Malayalam industry was probably the only industry that had women talking about it. That there is a lot of violence in the industry against women, and later as well, when there was a woman, an actor was abused, sexually abused. These women stood up and spoke for her. And that resulted in the formation of a collective called Women in Cinema Collective, which is actually women who have come together to speak for themselves. Although many of them have lost a lot of opportunities to act because of this voice that they started using for themselves, they are still very much there. Since 2017, they have been very much there. They constantly talk about it. They even got the government to come up with something called Justice Hema Commission, that a commission that was set up by the government to look into the sexism and violence in the industry. Although nothing much has happened after that, the commission did come out with a statement, a report which was redacted. Most of the names were not seen. I mean, yeah, not mentioned, but still it was something. And I think this would be my answer to that question. Other than that, I'm not able to think about any other, industry or actors who have been able to mobilize in a local space, and use those local resources to come together and create a collective or of anything of that kind. Yeah.
I'm
I don't
sorry, I
know.
feel like I would really like to say very quickly something that's been fascinating to me, because I run a media capstone paper. And what's fascinating to me is how every year there are at least three students who talk about, we want to come up with a platform that does this, right? And so that platform is either we'd like to make Zeds, or we'd like to make, but what's happening, I think the more that I'm reading, the more I'm convinced that any local platform is sort of quickly getting swallowed up. And so I think this idea of regional or collectivist uh, aspects are coming. So there are, for a lot of stars, the notion of OTT distribution is just one node of their celebrityhood. And so they pursue other nodes, just like Swapna was saying. So fan clubs are a really big thing. And so the platform just becomes one node of their celebrityhood, and there are other ways in which it's circulating. But this is becoming, I suspect, I mean, if indeed these students are going to wind up becoming media practitioners in a few years, then I suspect this is going to be a cause of much angst, because in classroom discussions, whenever they talk about creating, this is something that's causing them immense angst. And every collective sort of conversation is generating, we need to make something that will allow for us to put out our work. And I know a lot of folks within the industry, folks who graduated with me but decided not to do academia, but to actually practice media studies. So what, like these, I suspect we'll see these in maybe 5 6 years time, but they're all these early career younger sort of writers, directors, producers. They're now coming together to say, hey, let's help each other and let's make a seed fund and start making films. So I suspect we need to give this about 5 6 years to actually start seeing sort of how these seeds sprout, I think.
Just one very quick thing, since Sapna also rightly pointed out the women's collective and the Me Too movement. Something similar happened in Kolkata with a group of female like technicians, and the actors were very vocal like regarding this kind of practices which is ongoing in the Bengali film industry. And particularly one name which is coming to my mind is, her name is Shostika Mukhopadhyay, and she's also someone who is heavily trolled by those misogynist kind of a troller for speaking about the women and what they face in the industry. So they were forming certain kind of consensus within industry on how the female technicians and actors are like treated, mistreated. And if I know it correctly, they also formed one gender support group. And incidentally, this happened where a very heinous, brutal crime happened in Arjikor hospital in Kolkata. So aftermath of this Arjikor protest, some of the female technicians and the artists from the industry, they formed those collective, and also on online they were very active. And so they tried to create certain things. But since I don't stay in Kolkata, so I don't know what exactly the status of this group is, but they were very, very active online on the online platforms, and also speaking about the industry and how the women are treated. And like, I think in every regional industry there's a problem of that, but this Bengali actress Swastika Mukherjee came out, but also at the cost of being heavily trolled. But apparently in her Instagram handle and all, she doesn't care much of the being trolled. So this is something came to my mind. Thank you.
If I may very quickly jump in, I also want to mention when it comes to A-list celebrities, what trolling, and not just trolling, but the danger of losing brand endorsements. And it has happened in the past with A-list stars like Amir Khan. If you talk about things that goes against majoritarian, views, if you talk about, that, hey, there's rising intolerance, then it kind of, there is the huge backlash, there's the trolling, and then it's about the film might get boycotted, I might lose brand endorsement. So I think that is something that holds back many A-list celebrities from really kind of being more political, especially, I would say, in the current political context.
Yes, thank you very much. It looks like many of our guests have had to step off. So if there's,
I had a curiosity if I'm audible.
yeah,
With
you
regard
are.
to that
Yeah.
last, with regard to that last comment, just a general curiosity, perhaps a good general way to end the session also. Do you think celebrities expect, or in a way need or long for them to be studied the way we do? Do you think us studying them in a way authenticates them, or maybe even cancel them? I mean, just a curiosity I had. If anyone would want to answer that.
I
That's
think
a
when we study them, so we kind of see them as text, cultural text, rather than individual personalities. And I'm sure everyone would, can add more to that.
Yeah, I think as of now, celebrities and celebrity culture, celebrity capital, these are things which are so much a part of our social discourses that without knowing about what's happening or how is it being shaped, I think we would be missing out on a lot of interesting ideological frameworks. Uh, and I think that's definitely therefore important to study celebrity. I mean, stars of course had a lot of impact, but as of now, as they move to the space of celebrities, it's no longer just about cinema, or no longer just about being present on stage, or it's also they're so pervasively present, maybe as memes or as like the reels. They participate in all kinds of contemporary, like those reels that come up, which are the ice bucket challenge and all of that, and everybody feels that they all the celebrities would be the first one to lead the way. So I mean, that sort of tells us a lot about how our social structures are shaping and evolving in these times. So I think it's very, very important to know what they are
I
doing. And
mean, Uh, I've been I've been thinking about this for a while, and it's like how a lot of scholars who wrote after Baudrillard spoke about how once you call a simulacrum, it ceases to be a simulacrum. And so, like Judith Butler says, like the first rule is like simulacrum appears to be adhering to the first rule of the Fight Club, in that you don't talk about the Fight Club. And I think we are at that place. I think when it comes to celebrity, in that you don't call it celebrity. It's like how stardom, I think, perpetuates when you call it stardom. And then it seems to sort of cement and layer. I think there is something going on there with regard to, okay, I suspect that Zeenat Aman will take special umbrage at being called a celebrity. Maybe she'd want us to invent a new conceptual category for her. So I think that, with the celebrity hood, especially at this phase, I feel like it's like the Fight Club. Uh, I suspect it's a little like that.
Yeah, I guess.
Maybe we can conclude with some Fight Club rules here, but I think, I know I, for one, will continue to kind of think about these concepts, and we thank you all so much for sharing your research with us today. This was really an enriching and wide-ranging roundtable, and everything also kind of connected so well. So really thank you for putting this together for us. And please do share information about the collection when it comes out, and we'll promote it to everyone.